Should those accused of rape be provided anonymity until proven guilty? Why or why not, and what would be some negative results of such provisions? Here in Germany no names are ever disclosed, unless it's a public figure to begin with. Some exceptions are made for criminals deemed beyond rehabilitation, resocialization, but that's a very rare case. And that's a great thing. I was in a wreck a while back. Car crosses center line, takes out a motorcycle rider in front of me, he died, I see it every day. Loses control of car and I hit the car as it crossed in front of me in the passenger door. At no time did I ever hit the motorcyclist. He was already dead by the time I hit the passenger door. News channel ____ says I rear-ended the motorcycle, published it, where they got their info is beyond me, before the police investigated, or published a report. The motorcyclist wife is trying to sue me based on the newspaper info, not the actual photos or police report that clearly show I could not have. So no, I think that they should remain private until proven guilty. Why? Because if the news had have withheld a little until they had facts, my family and I wouldn't be stressed the hell out over this accident. And this is just an accident. Edit. Thanks for all the nice comments, my lawyer thinks he can get an apology. That's all we want. My question is this, in the media people assume guilt based on what the media puts out there. What if a person is found innocent of all charges and has lost everything because of it, can they sue to get their life back? I hate to be the one on the sue everyone train, but can you sue the news agency that falsely reported this? Sounds like defamation to me. Not a lawyer, but pretty sure you need to prove malicious intent with defamation. Although, if you asked me, I'd say any news organization should be held responsible if they negligently report misinformation that defames someone. Edit. I was wrong, apparently this is only the case for public figures. Only have to prove malice and falsity if you're a public figure suing for defamation. An average person doesn't have to prove bad intent or even that the statement is false, just that it was defamatory. It's already the case in my country, Poland, for literally all crimes, and I don't understand why it isn't the case everywhere. I mean, the entire idea of innocent until proven guilty is worth nothing otherwise. Let's face it, people are hyperbolic and retain headlines more than the guts of story. If you hear person A has been accused of rape, even if later it's proven false, the stigma will stay with persona and you might even say, well, they probably did it but got away with it. In American law, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Accusations with such life-altering consequences regardless of true guilt should be kept anonymous until it is proven true. Yes, and not just rape, all accusations until the end of the trial. The media would hate it, but it's the right thing to do. Edit. It breaks my heart that so many people here assume their country would go full Guantanamo, secret trial, held incommunicado indefinitely, if it were not for the heroic media outing every suspect. What a way to live, with such utter distrust of your own gov. Or maybe I'm naive that mine, in Europe, is any better. I think there are two different questions here. Should the accused be granted anonymity by the court? This is practically impossible, since the case in most cases will be held before an open court where the defendant can face his accuser. Trying to suppress the identity of the defendant can lead to a less open and transparent judicial system. The second question is whether the press should reveal the identity of the defendant. Unless there are special circumstances concerning the identity of the defendant, this seems reasonable. At the same time, it's largely a moot question, since in this age of the internet and social media it doesn't really matter what the responsible, mainstream media chooses to reveal or not. I don't think the second point is moot. I used to live in a country where the press could not give the full name of the accused outside of certain public safety-related circumstances, but one could go find the name in court records or on the internet. This afforded the accused a large degree of anonymity, as the name was not just out there to be passively heard. In my opinion, every criminal should remain anonymous until proven guilty, and even then I'd say it's a gray line. Obviously the victim knows who it is, his family does, and close acquaintances, but disclosing it to public press is not, in my opinion, okay. Regardless of his crime, we should focus on rehabilitation, not on punishment, for the betterment of society and the betterment of their individuals who perhaps were dealt a bad hand in life. I'm just gonna go ahead and flip the coin. In a society where you can trust that the legal system will in fact in most cases convict actual rapists, the answer to this question is obviously yes. However, at least where I'm from, the jury, which does not work the same way it does in America, more often than not lets offenders who have even admitted the crime off the hook in cases concerning rape. In one of the cases, from my own hometown, the educated judge had to step in and overturn the jury's decision because the evidence was so clear, and the rapist so dangerous, that his conscience didn't allow him to release the rapist. I can link to some cases if you want, however all the articles will be in Norwegian as I don't think they've ever made any international headlines. My point is that yes, I do believe anonymity should be provided for a number of reasons. It's about the fundamental right to have a fair trial. However, there is also the case where rape is extremely difficult to prove. According to statistics released by the police in my country, around 20% of all rapes make it to the police, and from that statistic 5% make it to court, and from that statistic 1% ends up convicted. This is based on what's believed to be actual rapes, the ones that does happen. There is also a separate statistic on false accusations, just to get that one out of the way, that estimates that the numbers for false accusations in relation to rape is about the same as any other criminal felony. Which means that false accusations do happen, but not more frequently in cases about rape than they do in other cases. Unfortunately, a false accusation of rape can be extremely damaging to an average Jane or Joe, but it's also found that most false accusations of rape are 1. Clearly false and overstated and easy to prove wrong, and does have a named offender. 2. Does not have a named offender, but is made by people with severe mental disorders and often a history of sexual abuse from childhood. 3. The statistics show that men and women both falsely report rape just about the same amount of times within a year. 4. The people accused in these cases are mostly men, but they rarely actually name an offender. Loose descriptions of appearance are far more common, and those descriptions are often based on stereotypes. Foreign offenders jumped someone on their way home from work, or school, or a party. Now that false accusations are out of the way, the statistics of actual rape can mean a number of things, however it absolutely means that there are a number of rapists out there that have not been convicted. When someone has been let off the hook a number of times, it's also a matter of safety for the potential victims. We should find a way to solve this problem that can both give the accused of rape their anonymity, and the potential victims of actual rapists that haven't been convicted a way to stay safe. P.S. The statistic is not gendered, so all statistics applies to both men and women. I'll gladly give up my sources if anyone wants them, it's just that they're all in Norwegian cheeky smiley face. I would tend to say, yes, and not only to rape. Pretty much the only exception I can think of is if a suspect is on the run and identification is necessary to catch them. Our contemporary trials by Twitter are horrifying. A medieval lynch mob behind a screen. There's no way this will turn into a shitstorm at all. Nope, none at all. Yep, this thread totally isn't filled with a bunch of assholes who assume all people who accuse someone of sexual assault are lying. Everyone is going to be considerate of each other's thoughts, and will offer deep and insightful contributions at any given chance. Nobody is just going to fart out the first thought that pops into their brain entirely based off of something they read on the internet that one time. I think the punishment for falsely accusing someone of rape should be just as severe as the punishment for rape. Edit. Wow, need to clarify based on the responses. I am only talking about situations where a person completely makes up the accusation. A total lie. This is rare but does happen. This would not apply to regular cases where the victim is actually reporting a crime. If they admit that they made it up, then throw the book at them. Problem there is that true victims will be dissuaded from coming forward with accusations for fear of being unable to prove them. If you were going to try to implement a law that punishes false accusers, I assume they would make it similar to libel, where you would have to definitively prove that the accusation was false. Same way to convict the accused rapist, you have to definitively prove the accusation was true, and that there was malicious intent behind the accusation. A simple, not guilty, verdict in a rape trial would not automatically condemn the accuser of a false accusation. How would you do that? Lack of physical evidence, as in only raped, you need to have the shit beat out of you as well for it to be real rape. Only stranger rape? If the attacker is known to the victim, then the accusation is false if found not guilty? If drugs or alcohol are involved, then the accusation is false if found not guilty? If the victim is very young, very old, or mentally impaired in any way, then a not guilty verdict is a false accusation because of the victim's credibility. I'm guessing under this hypothetical law, you would only get charged if, for example, they went through your phone and you texted your friend, "Lol, I am accusing him of raping me as revenge for dumping me on my birthday," or something like that. Almost no one would be convicted because it would be hard to prove. It would just be on the books so that, if a clear-cut false accusation were to appear, it could be punished. So, 6 months in a jail then? Or just house arrest? Being elected as POTUS? Are people accused of other crimes given anonymity? No? Then why for rape? Rape is the only crime where there is so much chronic doubting or outright disbelief of victims. Do we doubt the victim of a mugging? No. It's not about doubting the victim, it's about protecting innocent people. I'd gladly prefer to be known falsely as a mugger rather than a rapist. One way or another, it would be nice that the identities of both the accuser and accused be hidden, no matter the accusation. I fully agree that justice should be completely blind. The jury and judge should not see or know the names of either victim, accused, prosecutor or defense attorney. In any crime. Rape is no exception. But to say it should only be instituted in rape cases definitely implies there's something untrustworthy about rape victims, that the accused is likely innocent and should therefore be hidden. I think the bigger issue is the media. You can't guarantee an accused person anonymity during a trial, and in many cases not even in the days leading up to the trial. However, there really doesn't need to be so much aggressive character defamation by the press until the person has been proven guilty. You have every media outlet doing their best to pull a person's entire life apart and make them look like the worst person ever, just because the spotlight is on them at the moment. If they come out of it not guilty, it doesn't matter, because their entire life has already been turned inside out. That said, if they're guilty, then destroy that motherfucker. Legitimate question: if you had the choice between the below two hypothetical options, which would you choose? Guilty person has name plastered across the country, spends 15 years in jail, is never able to work again. Upon release, commits a variety of smaller offenses including theft, battery, possession of a controlled substance. Person becomes a junkie since they are a social pariah and have no marketable skills. Their life is absolutely terrible and they die a miserable junkie. Guilty person is largely anonymous outside of those directly impacted by the crime. Money that would have been spent on incarceration is instead used to put guilty person through intensive 2-year rehabilitation program. They are not allowed to leave during this time, but are provided comforts like decent food, internet, exercise, and the ability to learn. Person becomes a law-abiding citizen after leaving with newfound job skills and life skills, anger management, etc. ITT, people who either agree with OP or people who are downvoted to oblivion so you can't actually see arguments for the other side. Why rape in particular? Either all criminals should be given this courtesy or none of them. Who says they are criminals? They start as allegations, which may or may not be true. Why are focusing on rape, and not putting it in with every other crime? Do you believe that there are more false accusations regarding rape than other crimes? If so, you're wrong. Yes. And false accusers should be on the hook for the sentence they were trying to pin on him. And how do you quantify a false accuser? Good point. The reason they say not guilty instead of innocent is because that simply means there wasn't enough evidence to definitively prove guilt. Maybe if the accused proves that the accusation was a total lie, like if the accuser said she raped me at 3 on Monday, but the accused guy proved he was in another city at that time. IDK though, this issue seems to have no good solutions. I think so because there's a girl in my town who went out drinking, she's 16, and got super drunk and got with a 17-year-old who's in his final year of school. Her friends walked by and saw her and told her that they're going to tell her boyfriend that she cheated, so she broke down and claimed she'd been raped. She got brought to hospital for tests and everything came back negative, and the next day she was at a football match like nothing had ever happened. She posted the lad's name on Facebook to let everyone know that he raped her. The lad that raped her was a straight-A student who hasn't been back to school since and has tried to kill himself twice. She's possibly ruined his education and life, and she's getting away with it because she claims she's depressed, when in reality she isn't, and it's the second time she's done something like that. No? Why would you single out just rape accusations? Can we retire this tired circle jerk already? It is already difficult enough for survivors of sexual assault to report their experiences without adding additional barriers. Yes, with the system we currently have there's potential for false accusations, but with a system where people aren't allowed to name their abuser, additional survivors won't come forward and the abuser might never be prosecuted or convicted based on the testimony of one person. Hell, look at Jian Ghomeshi. 3 women still weren't enough to secure a conviction in his case. The other thing you're not considering here is that there is a difference between making a public accusation and making a police report. You can't really stop someone from posting about their attacker on Twitter, unless you can prove it's not true. Basically, if we add this additional rule, we might be preventing a few false accusations, but we're also adding an additional layer of protection for actual rapists, and potentially gagging actual sexual assault survivors. I'm not keen on that. Either reveal the identity of both accuser and accused or keep the identity of both anonymous. This is the only fair impartial system. Make the punishment for false rape accusations equally severe to the punishment for rape. Edit. I am in no way defending rapists or saying that people who have been sexually assaulted should not come forward. Anyone who has been raped absolutely should report it and get the piece of trash who raped them behind bars. However, there are many cases where someone has claimed rape, only to later come out and say that it never happened, after the person who was accused's life has been ruined. Brian Banks is a perfect example of how a false rape accusation can genuinely ruin an innocent person's life. I'd argue that wrongful accusation should carry the same punishment as the alleged crime. The accused getting away free wouldn't be enough for a conviction of the accuser, obviously. There would have to be an investigation. Only if it's crystal clear that the accuser outright lied there should be a punishment. As long as it's murky, nobody's going to jail. But there'd be the Damocles of possibly severe punishment for anyone trying to ruin someone else's life. Edit. To clarify, this should be the procedure in general. Not just rape. What harm could come from someone being anonymous until it's proven they're a criminal? If they're innocent, their life isn't ruined. If they're guilty, their life will be ruined after they're found to be. Is this your criminal justice homework? No, and neither should the accuser. Open and transparent courts are a necessary function of a fair and just society. I don't care if you think it's unpleasant for either party to be named, the courts exist society's benefit and to place burdens on the state before they lock people up in a cell. Besides, the issue is with the media, not the courts. 100% yes. Innocent until proven guilty. In all ways and cases. Absolutely yes. If you want to really harm a guy, accuse him of rape. Even if it is not true, if it gets public that he got accused of rape, he will lose his job and friends. Even if it is later proven that it was a false accusation, the damage is already done and for him nothing will ever be the same again. Anonymity would provide safety for those falsely accused, and as long as the only downside would be that it might take longer for real rapists to be proven guilty, I think the safety for the rest greatly outweighs it. Don't forget, the people who report being raped may not always be the most honest people either. Some people are seeking revenge, some are jealous, some are just nuts. How is it fair to punish someone before finding out if they committed a crime? Doesn't make much sense to me. How about a slight variation, keep the accused's identity anonymous until a verdict is returned, whether guilty or not. That way you avoid prolonged media circuses with dribbles of information, and the public receives the entire facts, what the court decided, and the evidence they based their decision on. And, as others have pointed out, there's no reason to treat rape differently from other crimes. I believe in the notion that a person is innocent until proven guilty. To be prejudged to be guilty when they are actually innocent can ruin the lives of not only the accused but their family and friends. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel, so that we can create more quality content in the future.